Shalom, Boker Tov. Thank you all for being here. My name is Michael Ross. I'm the Executive Director of the International Jewish Muslim Dialogue Center. And just so you know, I have a short speech to start with. It's only about 70 pages. Can you make it through that? Okay, good. Anyway, excuse me, pardon me? Yes, lunch will be served, and I promise it'll be done before that. Okay, I want to let you know that I'm very happy to be here today, and I am so happy today. I hope that all of you will take out your camera and do two things. First, take some pictures of me because I love to see my picture. Actually, it's my mom who wants to see me up. She doesn't believe I'm even here. The second one is, we want to send pictures to the king. The king of Jordan was invited to come and speak. But for some reason, and I don't know why, didn't even RSVP, didn't comment, nothing. I contacted the Jordanian embassy in the United States. They took the letter, it was posted online. I don't know what happened to him. Hopefully he'll walk in here and then we can actually ask him a whole bunch of questions. I don't know if he's going to show up, but let's see what happens. Even though he didn't show up, many of us here know that there was a lot of things going on with respect to his allies and some of the comments that have been made about this conference, about how bad it is, how wrong we are, and how the Muslim Brotherhood, Hamas, PA, and the others are opposing what we're talking about today. The thing that seems to be very interesting is this. They obviously don't understand the concept of free speech, free thought, and the ability to interchange and express ideas with each other. We're here today to learn. We're here today to talk. In fact, that's one of the things that's important about what we're doing. The IJMDC, which I will use, which is the International Jewish Muslim Dialogue Center, we are dedicated to, I'm going to read a couple of things, so please excuse me, advancing peace and tolerance between the children of Abraham through focused dialogue and cooperation. Our goal is to do what governments can't do, and that is to talk with people, get ideas, put fair and equitable concepts on the table, and help professionals of all countries come up with solid public policy from the ground up. Today we're here to discuss and fulfill international mandates to secure Israel's sovereignty as a Jewish state, as well as human rights and statehood for Palestinians. But before I go on, I want to let you know that this is the first of several internationally scheduled conferences that we have that are planned around the world. This is not just going to happen here. It's going to happen on every continent. We want to get the best ideas, to get the best information, to get the best solutions, because we want the best peace possible. The conferences will be designed to do two things. The first one is obviously to discuss the idea that we're here for, and that is Jordan is Palestine. The second one is that we want to cultivate business. We want to cultivate economic relations between countries. We want to help defeat BDS. We want to make sure that people do business here in Israel and in the country of Jordan, which will become Palestine. With that in mind, before I go on to a couple of other remarks, I would like to take a moment to let you know two things. First, the plans that we have that have been developed are online on our Facebook page. You can go to the IJMDC Facebook page and look us up. We have two specific plans. One is a 27-page outline on how to bring this plan into focus, and the second one is an economic development program. The second concept is, you know, when we put together something like this, it takes a lot of work. And there's a gentleman here who I would like to thank personally, Mr. Ted Belman, for all his work and guidance. I appreciate it very much. Before I end, I have a couple of things that I want to say. First, I would like to thank you all for being here. This is the first step in dialogue, first step in getting ideas, and the first step in moving in the right direction. As we all know, Jordan is part of the British mandate for Palestine. That mandate designated land for both Jews and Palestinians. That mandate designated that 22% of the land would go to the home for the Jews, while 78% would go to the land for the Palestinians. As we know, that did not happen. Pardon me? Excuse me if I'm wrong, please.
From the cheat sheet.
Okay, please correct me if I make a mistake. I always make mistakes. I'm only human. Thank you.
Read Article 25.
Okay. Anyway, let me just kind of go on. Even so, the king, the country of Jordan, and his parliament have not paid attention to what's going on in the mandate, whatever the specific number may be. The question really becomes here is this: why are they ignoring what they've agreed to, what they've signed on to, and what are the complications? And those are some of the things that we're going to discuss today. In my personal opinion, Jordan is the ultimate alternative solution to the stalemate that currently exists on the international stage. And the king knows this, and he's afraid. Because eventually, at some particular point in time, something is going to have to change. The status quo cannot continue to be what it is today because it's hurting everybody. In closing, I would like to turn this over to Ted, and I want to let you know that we may have some disagreements today. You will hear some ideas that we may like, that we won't like, but again, that's part of living in a democracy. A democracy brings free speech. And these are two concepts that the King of Jordan does not understand. I'm proud to be here. I want to thank you, and I hope that you all have a very enjoyable day. Thank you very much.
Finally, I'd like to first offer some apologies and explanations. My voice is almost finished, as you can hear it, and it's very difficult for me. Secondly, yesterday was such a horrible day that I didn't have a chance to brush up on what my remarks were going to be, and I'm not fully prepared to properly endorse all the speakers. So my introduction of them will be short. Their fuller bios are included in the program, and I hope everybody can accept that. But most of the speakers, anyway, you're familiar. Pardon?
Where the progress?
I haven't heard you yet.
Where the progress?
Good question. That was the one thing I didn't get done yesterday. I wanted to send the programs out to everybody who's registered, but I have to tell you, and you should know this, that the programs were all part of the post on my site, and where you buy the tickets, if you just go down, the whole program was there, all the speakers were there, and they're still there. So I wanted to send an update, and every 10 minutes the program was changing. See, some people printed it out. So it was all there. Okay? We done with the criticism?
Thank you for doing this.
These are Israelis.
Okay.
They are Israelis.
Thank you, Michael. I think we'll be hearing more from the IJMDC. It's my pleasure and honor to welcome you here to this historic event. The conference will be seen as the beginning of the end of the Hashemite kingdom, and hopefully the beginning of the Jordanian presidency of my friend Mudar. I met Mudar shortly after making Aliyah some 8 years ago, and worked with him during those years to pursue and perfect his plans. He wanted to become president of Jordan because he wanted to serve his people, the Palestinians. Since we started marketing the conference 3 months ago, Khaled Abu Tomeh, a well-known right-wing Arab Zionist journalist, together with some prominent Zionist activists and journalists, waged a slanderous campaign against Mudar. And I don't know, some who follow social media, it was disgusting what was going on there. And So it's left some scars, and we're here today to show that we're onward and upward. On a few occasions, they said he was ambitious and saw this as a fault. This allegation reminded me of Mark Antony's speech in Shakespeare's Julius Caesar, which I'm sure you're all familiar with. Mark Antony, when addressing the crowd at Caesar's burial, with the consent of the murderers, had to tread carefully. I substitute Caleb here for Brutus. Yet Caleb says he was ambitious, and Caleb is an honorable man. How can you achieve anything without ambition, I said. Without ambition, you can't reach great heights. So such a ridiculous comment. But Mark Antony continued, ambition should be made of sterner stuff. Throughout the last 10 years, Mudar exhibited such sterner stuff. He stood up to the king, Abdullah, on many occasions, and he had to flee from Jordan for his pains. He applied for and received asylum in Britain, plus a safe house to keep him safe. Just recently, he discovered that that safe house had been made public, and he had to rush off to the police to have a new safe house. This is a very treacherous business that he has been applying himself on. Mudar was tried and convicted in absentia by King Abdullah and sentenced to life imprisonment for slandering the king. During his exile, Mudar earned a PhD in London, and he's now working on his second PhD. And by the way, I might mention that one of his masters was earned in the United States. And he's very cosmopolitan. He's lived in the States. He's obviously lived in England. He's lived in Jordan. And when he was in Jordan, he worked for the American Embassy and got to know the entire intelligence community by virtue of him working for Condoleezza Rice and others. And he was an Arabic interpreter and a very versatile guy. King Abdullah, on a number of occasions, offered him substantial bribes. And every time, Mudar turned them down. And presumably, he liked living on welfare better and keeping his integrity. So he turned down serious money, like $500,000, $1 million, to give up the fight. A couple of weeks ago, after the launch of our marketing campaign, King Abdullah declared war on us. He published a rant in the Jerusalem press attacking the conference and those involved. And the entire, the Jordanian press, and the entire Arabic press carried this article, and everybody was talking about it. So this translation isn't the greatest, but I want you to hear how frightened the king was of this this infant operation, some might think. Obviously, we're a lot bigger than some people think we are. But here's what the king wrote as translated. There are Jordanians participating in the conference, and the state must take all deterring measures, and the Jordanians' state of mind must be firm in reacting to these pro-coup stances and to punish those taking part, and also recall the Jordanian ambassador and take all legal and diplomatic measures to stand in the face of these major changes to come, which target the national security, and put together a full program on purpose aimed at creating a perfect picture for the reader and the mind of the Jordanian state, as well as the consciousness of the Jordanian citizen, who, by the way, shall never tolerate anyone touching our national security and is willing to give away his blood and soul for that. That was, I took it out. It's hard to understand it. I could, maybe you can. I couldn't. But you can see the threat. You can see the punishment that was there. Yet, it is only right that the king abdicate. After all, 75% of the Jordanians living in Jordan are Palestinians, and the rest are Bedouin. Also, there's a component that at one time was represented as being 1.6 million of Syrian refugees. They are all leaking back into the safe zones in Syria, and so they're down to 500,000, and ultimately they'll be all gone. Returning to Mark Antony, was this ambition? Yet Khaled says he was ambitious, and sure, he is an honorable man. At least that's what most people thought of Khaled. But here I am to speak what I do know. You all did love him once, not without cause. What cause withholds you then to praise him now? Enough with Shakespeare, I couldn't resist. Luckily, I'm not here to bury Mudar, but to praise him. I remember when Mudar was organizing the Jordanian Opposition Coalition 3 or 4 years ago. He drafted the platform upon which he would stand and submitted it to me for my comments. My concern was that his platform would be well received by Israelis. I wanted it to include the right of all Palestinians to return to Jordan, and he wanted it to include an invitation to Israel to help the Jordan economy. On the other hand, Mudar had to take this platform and present it to his potential coalition partners and get them to sign on to the program. So he was torn. If he made it too pro-Israel, he might lose some of them, and so he negotiated this path through his persuasiveness, and I can tell you, very persuasive in leadership. He managed to get their support for his vision of a democratic, secular state with the right of return. One that would live in peace and harmony with Israel, as Emir Faisal proposed a century ago. And he managed to get the coalition to accept a democratic, secular state. That's huge in the Arab world. And credit to him. I remember specifically his excitement when he got a 1 million-man Bedouin clan to join the coalition. One of their leaders, Abed al-Mala, is here today representing them to participate in the program. And I brought him here from the U.S. where he currently lives, quite fearful for his life when he returns to Israel. His life is in danger. That I can tell you from all the tracking that we have done. The platform was published in August 2015 and is available on my blog, Israel Pundit, for all to read. It's about a 15-page program that you can get into all the nitty-gritties of what everybody agreed to. Over these years, Mudar planned to take power by leading some kind of insurrection. The right circumstances never presented themselves, due in part to Obama's desire to support the king and support the Muslim Brotherhood who supported the king. And you may be aware that the king is very close to Qatar. Both Qatar and the king support the Muslim Brotherhood, and they create an anomaly in terms of the Arab states who are, the Gulf states, who are declaring the Muslim Brotherhood a terrorist organization, who are boycotting Qatar. So there's a real division between the Arab Gulf states and Jordan. With the election of President Trump, everything changed. Mudar and I both saw the same possibility. If only we got Trump to endorse what we dubbed the ultimate alternate solution, then the rest would be easy. We reasoned that installing the Jerusalem Occupation Coalition headed by Mudar in power would ultimately lead to the eradication of the Palestinian Authority and UNRWA, which is the bonus. We thought the logic of our solution was so compelling that President Trump wouldn't be able to resist it. After all, he said he wanted to achieve the ultimate deal. And that's where the word ultimate comes from his own reasoning. Out of that realization, this conference was born. And I might mention, there's many, many more people who have registered who are not here yet today, so the audience should grow. The morning is dedicated to providing you with the facts, including an expose of the real King Abdullah and what he's all about. He is often portrayed as a friend, but in reality, he is the enemy of both the Palestinians and Israel. And we see lately so many things, and one of our speakers, Rachel Abraham, is going to nail him to the wall in your presence. I was happy to tell you that Danny Alon was going to be the keynote speaker. 2 days ago, he said he would grace our conference, and last night he wrote that he said he couldn't make it. But, not to be disappointed, we have something special. We have the bad boy of the Knesset, Oren Khazan, who is here, and he is going to talk. But to make that more interesting, he is going to be joined in his talk with Abed Amala, and there's going to be fireworks. And so I'm going to say go to it, how your heart's desire, so that should be fun. He will be followed by 3 panels in the afternoon. The first deals with the historical background, bringing us up to date. The second deals with what Israel can do to capitalize on the Jerusalem opposition coalition coming into power, what our role is. And the third panel is about what kind of government Mudar and his coalition are proposing. Thank you for coming and taking an interest. Now, the panel, first panel, is not all here. I'm told that MK Yehuda Glick will be here shortly. We're going to start anyways. And luckily, we have 2 illustrious people. First, Aryeh Eldad. He has been married to this cause as long as I've been in Israel. And he's had conferences of his own on this, and I think he worked with Rabbi Benny Alon, deceased now. So Aryeh Eldad is a wonderful first speaker based on everything he has done before and what he